Welcome, everybody. It's really lovely to have you here today. Welcome to our Understanding Loyalty in Europe webinar. We're really excited to be presenting our new research to you here today. My name's Charlie Hills. I am the Managing Director and Head of Strategy at an agency called Mando-Connect, and we authored and worked on the research with YouGov, which is why I'm hosting today. But I'm not here alone. I'm here with all our brilliant market experts who are then going to be bringing that research and data to life in their market with really great case studies for you all. So without further ado, I think we're probably ready to get started. I hope that's okay to begin and everybody's dialing in. We've got a couple more people joining as I'm saying this. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. It's lovely to have you here today. Right, we'll dive in. So firstly, let me introduce the other experts on the call. So I'm Charlie Hills, the author of the white paper and the managing director and head of strategy at Mando-Connect, and you can see me over there on the left. I'm joined today by our market experts, so by Cristina from the Loyalty Observatory in Italy. She's going to be providing the Italian commentary today and also featured in the white paper. By Radek from Voxwise, who's going to be providing the Czech Republic commentary today and also contributed to the white paper. By Zsuzsa from Antavo, who was our Nordics expert for the paper, and you can see her commentary in it. And by Nicole from Get Focused, who'll be providing the German expert commentary as well today. So welcome. We're all delighted to have you here today. And there were two other experts who featured in the white paper as well. Carl from Open Loyalty, who provided the Polish content, and Leon from Emakina, who provided the content on the Netherlands in the paper. They're unable to join us today, but they're available for questions should you have any key points on either of those markets that you would like to follow up on. Today, we're going to be talking about this webinar in 3 parts. So I'm going to do an overview of the highlights of the research, about 10 minutes, just to give you the key facts, the key stats from the white paper. Everything is available in detail within the white paper, and if you'd like any of the graphics or anything, please get in touch with me afterwards. We want this to be shared and we want it to be used and loved by everybody. So about 10 minutes on the research highlights. Then the market experts are going to do the really interesting bit where we then talk about our spotlight markets, bring to life those case studies and the key stats on loyalty, membership, appeal and impact in those markets. And then we've got about 10 minutes at the end for questions. Throughout, this is a really great platform on GoToWebinar. If you have any questions, please post them. You can see the GoToWebinar panel on the right-hand side with the questions tab within there, and that's the place to write your questions. And you can ask an individual expert or all of us all together as we go. So please engage. We'd love to hear what more you want to know. This is the research. I hope you're all familiar with the white paper. It's the Understanding Loyalty in Europe white paper. We launched it in Zurich at the Loyalty Summit this year, and it's the first of its kind. So it's the first paper to look at 24 markets data across Europe. It's the first paper to really robustly explore what loyalty, membership, appeal and impact look like in each of those markets and at the European average level. We had 7 market experts who brought that data and insight to life in each of the markets. And then within the paper as well, we really wanted to bring some case studies to life, because I think that's one of the things that those of us that work in the industry find the most interesting. So there are 3 deep dive case studies in there: Marriott Bonvoy, Samsung members, and Very Me rewards from Vodafone. And then we've also got snapshot case studies in each of the markets. So for each market, we brought to life 3 case studies. And then we also introduced a new metric of loyalty, the loyalty gauge, which looks at membership, appeal, and impact to identify which are the most engaged markets across Europe and which are the lesser engaged markets. And our ambition with that was to help loyalty marketeers understand how to adapt and tailor their different strategies in each of those markets, and hopefully to bring some context to different sort of program performance in those markets. So that's the research. It's fully available to download in its entirety, but today I'm just going to take you through some of the highlights. So loyalty membership was the first place that we looked. We wanted to understand which markets had the highest percentage of their population as members and which had the lowest. And on average, across our 24 European markets, we uncovered quite a startling statistic, which is that 61% of adults are members of at least one loyalty program in those markets. And I think that was really interesting for us to see, because we always thought loyalty was a big industry, and now we know that it is. The majority of adults across those markets are engaged in at least one program. And I think that really sets the tone for where loyalty belongs on the marketing agenda. We've always felt it was in the middle, and actually for most brands, having a really strong loyalty program or proposition is a really interesting strategy that should be explored. When we then looked at how it varies by market, we see it really peaking in the Nordics, actually. So we're thrilled to have Zsuzsa here to talk to us about that particular region. Why is membership so high in the Nordic markets? It peaks at 86% in Norway. That's nearly 9 in 10 Norwegian adults are members of loyalty programs. And then at the opposite end of the spectrum, it actually drops to 31% in Turkey. And when we launched this at the summit, it was really interesting to talk to people who knew the Turkish market really well, as they perceived that membership was higher actually in their market. And I think that's where we can uncover some really interesting debates between, what the population says in this very robust, validated research versus the reality of those of us running programs at the coalface. So that's a huge differential from 31 to 86% across those markets. And in the paper, you can see how it breaks down by every market. When we then tried to explore what were the other interesting variables that we needed to think about, membership is a starting point, but how people feel about loyalty programs is really important. We know from Forrester that emotional engagement is the most important thing to get right in loyalty programs, and actually how we make people feel as well as what we make them do is really central to our thinking. So we asked people these 3 questions across all 24 markets. Firstly, we asked them if they thought that loyalty programs are a great way to reward customers, and 56% do. So over half of European adults think that loyalty programs are a great way to reward customers. We then asked a question which is about appeal, but also about saturation. So actually 42% of people think that every brand should offer a loyalty program. And this is really interesting when you dig into it at a market by market level, because it's a really interesting indicator of I love loyalty programs, but also quite a quantifier of how saturated the market is. I operate in the British market, which was the market I provided the commentary on in the white paper. And we have a lot of loyalty programs in Great Britain. And there has always been a theory that we're reaching saturation point. All the big grocers have programs, all the big pharmacies have programs, all the big fuel retailers have programs, coffee shops is a sector that has exploded. And actually this is a really useful marker to look at your individual market and go, how saturated are we? And in Britain, actually, we're still really, people still really want every brand to have a loyalty program. So it's a really interesting data point. And then the last data point we looked at is, do you want to join? Actually, are they so appealing that you want to act on that appeal? And what we found across those markets, again, is that 35% join loyalty programs each time they are given the opportunity. And actually, you can see a significant variation in markets as to ones that are really keen to sign up, and actually those acquisition journeys are quite straightforward, and then other markets that are a bit savvier and a little bit more demanding of their programs and actually require something to sort of tip them over the edge. But on average, over a third will join each time they're given the opportunity. After appeal, the final set of data points we wanted to look at was impact. Actually, it's great that you're a member of a program. It's great that you find them appealing, but actually what impact do those programs have? And how can we as loyalty marketeers quantify the impact so that when we're putting business cases together for investing in our loyalty programs, we actually have some hard market data to base that on? So the first thing that we looked at were the functional metrics, actually. So 43% say that being a member of a loyalty program actively makes them more loyal to the brand, which again is very positive. And 29% on average say they will spend more when they are a member of a program. And traditionally, it's that top and bottom important functional metric that has proved the foundation of business cases for loyalty programs across Europe. In some other versions of this research we look at appeal, we look at frequency, we look at basket spend, but as a headline across those 24 markets, we wanted to look at those two transactional metrics. So it makes them more loyal, they stay longer, they stick, they shift less, and they spend more with you, be that driven by frequency or increased basket spend or cross-sell or upsell. But we also wanted to look at those really important emotional metrics. So 36% say they are more likely to recommend a brand when they are a member of its program, and 33% feel more emotionally connected to that brand. And again, I think that's really interesting to us as loyalty marketeers, where we're thinking about our program versus other disciplines in the marketing mix. Those are really strong metrics for what can be a very cost-effective way to build those connections with your audience. So impact was really key to us. However, what we also wanted to do, so it was really interesting to look at those metrics in isolation, but we wanted to give loyalty marketeers across Europe a snapshot way of looking at their markets and looking at all the markets together and going, well, where do I sit? Where does my market sit? And where do the markets that are my priority markets sit? How can I look at it overall? And that's why we work very closely with YouGov to develop this new gauge. So this is the European average gauge, and I'm just going to explain how it works, and then the useful bit is on the next slide. So what we built is a loyalty gauge, which is a combination of all of those metrics I've talked to you about. So starting bottom left, as you can see here in teal, the average membership of loyalty programs across Europe is 61%. So we translated that into a numeric with YouGov to say, actually, so that's a 6.1 scale across Europe for engagement. We then looked at the appeal metrics, and we created a mean average of those three appeal metrics, quantified it as a numeric, built it into the gauge. So actually you can see that the European average is 4.4. We then looked at the impact metrics, quantified those, created the average, mean average is 3.1. So our net loyalty gauge, our average across Europe, is a net score of 14. Now in isolation, this doesn't mean much. It's a useful graphic, it's a pretty dial, but actually what does it mean? And this next bit is where it gets really interesting. So what you can see, oh, she says skipping over it. What you can see here is every one of the 24 markets that we researched, how they sit on membership across the bottom, so the dark pink, their membership score, how they then sit on appeal, the middle bar, and then how they look at impact on the top bar. And this is where it gets really interesting. So, you know, we work a lot in Ireland. We know that the Irish are really passionate about their loyalty programs, and it was fantastic to see them topping the poll. It feels a little bit like Eurovision, this, like where the markets sit against each other. But yeah, the Irish are winning with a net score of 17.0. And what you can see there is high membership, high appeal, and fairly high impact. They're not the highest for impact, but the combination of strong performance against all those three areas means that we can be really confident to say that Ireland is our most loyalty engaged market. We then moved to Poland, to Great Britain in bronze. We were very pleased to sit there, to Slovakia, to Norway, to France, to the Czech Republic, to Sweden, to Finland. And you can start to see different trends here in membership appeal and impact between those markets. We then have a middle tranche of markets who are very much in that sort of just under 14, but above 13. And here you can see again, it tends to be a difference between membership and appeal that are driving the performance in those markets. And then we move to our lower loyalty engaged markets, the ones who are sort of scoring under 13. And this is where you can see some real differences. So if I pull out Netherlands, you know, the lowest score, you know, Leon was mortified when he saw that this was, you know, the Dutch was such a value-driven market. They love their loyalty programs, but why are they at the bottom? Actually, really high membership of loyalty programs in the Netherlands, but very low appeal and very low impact. And if you look in the paper, you can see Leon's point of view as to why that is the case in the Netherlands. In Turkey, it's a very different picture, you know, much lower membership, but actually quite high appeal and quite high impact. And again, there's been some really interesting conversation about why that is and why that variation is. And then the Danish, who come up consistently throughout the white paper, very high membership, but, you know, extremely low appeal and impact. You know, they're joining programs, they're members of programs, but they're not working for that audience in some way. So that's how we recommend that you use the insight and the data to look at it, to tailor your strategies and your approaches to these markets, and then to use it as valuable context for your own program to see how actually you can then adapt what you're doing in that market. We've got a question that's come in now, actually, so I'm just going to answer that while we're on this bit. So the question that's come in is to say, it is interesting that over 50% of people want brands to have loyalty programs, but only 1/3 of people will join the loyalty program each time. Do we know what the main drivers of this drop-off are? Thank you. Thank you for asking the question so nicely. Yes, it's really interesting, actually, that I love programs. I want them all to be there, but that I won't join. Will I quite get there? When we were looking at it at a pan-European point of view, we kept the survey quite top line because we wanted to make sure that what we had was really robust data across those markets. But in some of the markets that we've looked at, and certainly with our market experts, we've dug into that a little bit more. I feel like this European white paper is just very much the first chapter of the story. And I think we have a lot of hypothesis about that difference between I want everyone to have a program, but I'm perhaps a little bit more cautious about joining. And some of the key themes that have come out from the experts, from the research, and from the context in other papers has been about the value proposition. So in a sort of cost of living crisis, actually, we know that people want to engage more with loyalty programs, but their judge of what their real value to them is more important. So if your loyalty program isn't offering a really strong value proposition, or perhaps a reward that they get quickly, then actually that can kind of drop off. They really want kind of to be rewarded in a genuine and meaningful way. I think another thing that's come up quite strongly across the markets is relevance. So actually, many loyalty programs take quite a generic approach. They try and appeal to everybody, and perhaps the rewards and benefits that they are offering maybe aren't quite as relevant to me. Cristina does a lot of work looking at the importance of sustainability within loyalty programs and charitable and the impact of the environment. And if you're a consumer for whom that is really important and that isn't in the loyalty program, then actually your propensity to join is much lower. So we think that it's a combination of those two things. It's is it offering me enough value, and actually is it relevant to me given everything that's going on, and my passions is the reason for that differential. I hope that that answers the question that's come in. But please feel free to follow up if you'd like any more depth on any of that, and we'll crack on in now to the market case studies to bring that to life for everybody. So, there's a mouse flying around that is not mine. I'm wondering if Eva from Antavo is also in the presentation. There's a few of us clicking around. So we're going to come on now to the second part of our webinar. So that was the snapshot of the research. All the detail is in there. And now we're going to start to bring to life that data for you in the market case studies. So first is Radek from Voxwise, who's going to talk to you about the Czech Republic. Over to you, Radek.
Thank you, Charlie. Hi, everyone. So Czech Republic, right in the middle of Europe, small country, 10 million people, not the biggest nation, but interesting outcomes. In Czech Republic, the appeal of loyalty programs, so the percentage of the people who are keen on loyalty is quite high. I was surprised, 67% members at least one program, which in average, coming from my studies, is around 6. So it scores very high. I would like to remind everyone that the study overall is great validator. It's a benchmarking tool, how the markets behave. So in Czech Republic, about 50% of respondents say they are more loyal. We are above average. 31 will shop more. In contrast, in Great Britain, where the same number is 37, I'm a little bit jealous, but I am happy that at least 1/3 of people joining loyalty program will definitely spend more. I wish I had this data point, this knowledge years before, because in many cases you are building a business case, some kind of calculation about the new loyalty or redesigned loyalty proposition. And you have experience, you have some knowledge, but the overall benchmark across Europe was something it is useful and was needed for many years. And I would like to thank Charlie's effort to bring it to life. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are calculating the impact, you can say that 1/3 of people joining the program will change their behavior. It sounds small, but remember that in marketing, we are trying to persuade percentages of people to shop. And here with loyalty mechanics, we are talking about dozens of percents. So once again, 1/3 will contribute. That is the real business where the loyalty scheme can contribute. Let me remind that another positive highlight is the acceptance around Europe. In Czech Republic, close to 70%, great, I'm happy. But also in the other countries, the idea is well accepted, and only a few countries are outliers in the end, and Charlie mentioned them. What stand out to me personally, and thank you for the question, because this is something we really should take as a warning sign. There are only 33% of Czechs and overall 30% of Europeans who are going to join the loyalty scheme every time. And we think that we are bringing to market a new proposition, a new idea, but only 1/3 of people will join with no question. So I think we should take it as a serious message from the market, and we really work hard on the appeal of the proposition. Because, you know, people are a little bit fed up, you know, being member of 6+ programs, 70% are members of at least one. So we should work harder to differentiate, to bring some value and tangible value and articulate the value. Please don't forget this. Let me spare some minutes about Czech #1, the most beloved and one of the biggest programs which are highly functioning. It's a drugstore chain, DN Drogeria, which is similar to Boots, what is offering in the UK. The scheme of Active Beauty is the name of the scheme. The scheme is relatively simple. Earn burn mechanics, you know, collecting points and using as cashback vouchers. But this is the first glance. If we go deeper, we see that the team is very active in personalization, bringing really valuable vouchers to the audience. And the overall game is not only the cashback idea. When targeted coupons are managed well and executed with also very nice and meaningful direct communication, that makes the scheme unique. You know, about 2.5 million women in the nation of 10 million people are joined and are active in the program, which is DM Drogeria is very proud of that. I would like to mention why I think that Active Beauty should be highlighted, because the company is spending vast amount of marketing money into content. They are bringing the printed, very high quality magazine around health and beauty, around all the mission to the members. They are sending it by post, so not only in the digital forum. They are bringing all the content through the other digital channels. Also, the mobile app is very handsome. So what is important? Value proposition together with communication and targeted offers, that makes the program really standing out. And the last thing I would like to mention, which would be interesting for the audience, is the ability to redirect vendors' money, which will be normally spent into price reductions, normal leaflets, you know, weekly junk mail. And what they do is they are offering 10 or 20, and you can see on the screen 30 times more points on selected brands and products. And this is exactly how vendors' money normally wasted in price reductions are redirected to the accounts of most loyal customers. And this is something you should really take from that example, that you have some budget, and if you spend the budget on the right persons, it can really be meaningful. Now, Czech is over, because DM is a German brand, and one of the biggest neighbors of Czech Republic is Germany. I will pass the word to Nicole. So Nicole, please.
Yes, thank you, Radek, and hi, everyone. And really, it's a nice transition that you made, because we, as a DM, as a German retailer, is actually a part of the biggest coalition program in Germany. And I think it's so interesting, and I think there will be so many more examples, basically, into the European markets, that loyalty strategies for one brand can differ within the different countries. But let's look into the German numbers from the white paper. And loyalty membership, I saw, and I was astonished as well, that basically Germany is actually a little below the average of the European countries. I would have thought differently, and I think there might be, of course, differences within industries, but overall, we also see from other papers that it's a trend, maybe also a development in recent years, that membership is decreasing. And for me, as a loyalty expert, but also, of course, for the brands offering loyalty programs, it's very important to know this and to really think about, okay, what measures can we take in order to counter this development and to make programs more attractive. Because the other number, the loyalty appeal, shows us that Germans like loyalty programs, right? They want that brands offer loyalty programs. They think it's a great way to reward customers. So I think in the German market, we should look into these numbers and say, okay, let's work on those programs in the design and operation, because customers are open for them. And the third category, the loyalty impact, again, is we are below average in all four categories that Charlie explained already, so I won't go into the detail. And that brings me to the assumption that, first of all, loyalty programs in Germany are liked, but Germans choose the program with caution. So their participation, they choose with caution. And I know, Charlie, you already gave some hints and ideas why that could be. I also think I have a third idea as well, is the process, right? If the process for signing up to a program is too complicated and doesn't go instantly, I think a lot of customers just don't sign up, right? And fourth is of course engagement. If you don't keep members engaged right from the beginning, they will lose track of that loyalty program and it will disappear out of their mindset. That's my assumption from those numbers. And the learning or my takeaway is basically, let's work on the design and the operation of loyalty program, make them attractive, differentiate within industries and brands, of course, and really find ways to make the program as great as possible. And basically, the example I brought from Germany is not the, let's say, most widespread or biggest loyalty program or best known, but it's more a newbie in the market. It's from the retail discounter Lidl. And basically in 2020, they implemented their own loyalty program, and they have been the first mover in that retail discounter space. So all other retail discounters like Aldi, they don't have loyalty programs. And we basically just have Netto, which is part of the Edeka group, and they are part of a coalition program. So what they did is they implemented a program which is purely digital. So they go for those rational benefits, like you're working towards a discount, you get special promotion, you get special prices, But also, what I think is pretty clever, what they do is they also touch those emotional elements. For example, they work with scratch cards, they have partner benefits. And I think just lately, I thought it was a pretty smart move. They included the Little Club, which is for young families. They included it into the Lidl Plus. And what can be more emotional than when you have a baby to be part of a program and to connect with those families, with those younger families. Okay, that was it from the German market, and I will hand over now to Cristina.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you, Charlie. It's really great to be here today, and thank you for involving me in this piece of research. I'm particularly happy to be here because I run an observatory on loyalty at the University of Parma. So our mission has been for over 20 years to study loyalty and being part of a European effort, and this is really interesting. So going to some highlights regarding the Italian market, which is a rather big market in terms of number of consumers, over 60 million people. 57% of Italians are members of loyalty programs. This is the average, though, because in Italy we have a big difference between different industries. Nicole has just mentioned groceries and the discounts. In groceries, that's where we see the highest penetration of loyalty programs, with something like 80% of consumers. That's based on our data. Whereas all the other industries are very much behind this number, and this is also connected to the fact that retailing in Italy is very fragmented. So not having big retail chains in some sectors, like bookshops or perfume shops and so on, we don't have big programs involving millions of people. Then 46% of Italians join programs each time they have the opportunity, and this is interesting because it's much higher, 11 points higher than the European average. So Italians, and maybe you suspected this, are very enthusiastic. So when there's something new coming to market, they try it, they like joining, and they show their appreciation of these tools because 48% say that brands should offer a loyalty program, and 60% say loyalty schemes are a great way to reward customers. What about the effect on behavior, the variable that is called impact in the white paper? Loyalty schemes make Italians spend more. 33% say they spend more, which is a little bit higher than the 29% average in Europe, but, and that's interesting, loyalty programs seem to fail to make Italians recommend the programs to others. It's only 29% versus the 36% average. I've tried to understand this. On the one side could be that Italians, we talk so much that we have so many topics to talk about, and maybe we don't talk much about loyalty schemes because we have a lot of other topics to discuss. But seriously, it could also be because a lot of the national schemes in Italy, they date back to more than 10, 15, even 20 years, and they are very similar to each other. For example, let me go back to supermarkets. There, the schemes date back to 10, 15, 20 years. They're very much based on points or based on plastic cards. In fact, when Lidl Plus, which is the scheme that Nicole just cited about Germany, came into Italy, it was a bit of a game changer because it was digital only, app-based, and actually was a big success. So let's say because the program has been around for a long time on average, maybe it's not providing fresh things to talk about to consumers. And this is kind of a warning sign. In fact, let me say that a lot of companies, based on our yearly research, are looking into ways to refresh the schemes. Italian schemes compared to European averages They are very much geared towards points and levels, and they have a lot of gamification. And as I said, many companies have one. The intentions, as far as loyalty marketers are concerned, is to move the schemes to being more digital, more experiential, simpler, and more based on data, and also more sustainable. Now, sustainability is the reason why, among all the possible examples, I've chosen Sojenia's program that's called Greeners as a case study. There were so many to choose from. I decided to go for this case, first of all, because it came from the utility industry, where we've seen a lot in recent years. Then because it's a program that has received international awards, and it's totally digital. It's based on different platforms, and it aims to create a community to engage in digital activities, but also real life local activities with an impact. And the interesting side to it is that it plays a lot on involving the company employees, which is a trend that we're going to see more and more in the future as we're moving toward less CRM and more CRM in the sense of citizen relationship management, not only consumers, but also people in their care for the environment and for society. Okay, well, that's it. Thank you so much. And I leave the floor to Zsuzsa.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Cristina. I'm Zsuzsa Kecsmar, one of the co-founders of Antavo and Chief Strategy Officer. And today I will talk about the Nordics, as it's not one country, but like a whole region in terms of loyalty programs. Charlie asked us to give our opinion on the Nordics and try to analyze the numbers, because we have many customers in the Nordics, brands, retailers, enterprises. They are the ones who run their loyalty program on our technology, because Antavo is a loyalty vendor for these companies like fashion or crop sciences or automotive, like BMW, or hospitality, like KFC. And what we see from the numbers here, what you can see here in these two numbers that I highlighted, that it's quite a high adoption. 78% are members in the region. And as we heard from Charlie in one of her first slides, Norway is the one which is leading the way. They are pioneers in loyalty programs. And we have our own research, and it says the same too, that it's a very, very developed market. On the other hand, maybe because it's a very developed market, people there are spoiled. The effect of loyalty programs is lower. It's harder to show something new because of how saturated the market is. And as we see the number, it's only 29% who will spend more as a member. It's quite a low number. It seems that it's a hygiene factor to have a loyalty program. And also, as a conclusion, an average loyalty program will not stand out. It needs to be different, a bit more. And I will tell two ideas how it can stand out. But before that, let me go a bit into detail about the specific countries. Denmark, people in Denmark are quite skeptical. The actual report uses this terminology. Only 29% of respondents think that loyalty programs are a great way to reward customers. And our conclusion based on this is that loyalty programs in Denmark should focus on emotional engagement, like to shake them up, to go beyond earn and burn mechanics, or on the burn side, it should be emotionally engaging to burn those points. Norway and Sweden are the two top countries in terms of loyalty program adoption, as more than 80% of their population are part of at least one loyalty program. And this is a very high number. And this is why, again, standing out is the way to go, in terms of managing a successful loyalty program in the region. And lastly, people in Finland are the ones who are the fondest of loyalty programs in the Nordics, as it's more than 40% who said that they would join a loyalty program if they are given the opportunity. And this is above average because in the other countries, this is below 30%. So where is the opportunity here? The opportunity here is to go beyond what is out there, what is the typical loyalty program. Because for customers, loyalty programs are still really about earning points and burning them for discounts. Whatever goes outside of this, beyond this, is great. That is a differentiating factor, like gamification or this rewarding behaviors outside of the purchases are two things that can help to stand out. Just an example of rewarding behavior outside of purchases is that if you bring back your old clothes for cycling or supporting healthy lifestyle choices like drinking enough water or working out, these are all things that are made possible by technology these days. Here, I brought the example of IKEA family because everyone knows IKEA. And the screenshot here shows the Google translated version of the Swedish version of the IKEA family, because the loyalty program varies in each country. For example, in the UK, the loyalty program doesn't offer a charity option, but here in Sweden it offers. So here are a couple of points that I would like to list, and then I will hand it back to Charlie to talk about Poland. Number one is there are no points in IKEA family. It's more like a perks program. And there are members-only prices, which is usually 5% lower than what others get. There are surprise offers. There's free coffee and tea when you shop in person in the IKEA stores. There is the opportunity to join workshops as a loyalty member. They have workshops, these DIY workshops, to create your own furniture or to create a better version of your existing furniture and renew that furniture. Also, there is this charitable element for those members who identify themselves in the store. IKEA donates money to charity. Also, IKEA has partner offers, and also they encourage sustainability, as it's in other countries too that IKEA buys back their own products. They have this secondary market, but in the case of loyalty program members, they buy it back for 15% more. So those who are members, they get 15% more money than those who are not. So this is about the Nordics. Now I'm handing back to you, Charlie.
Thank you, Zsuzsa. I don't think you could have done a presentation on Nordic loyalty without talking about IKEA, you know, the brand that we all love and know. I actually provided the British commentary in the white paper. As for those of you who know me, you know that that's my kind of home market and the one where we started doing the research back in 2018. But Carl from Open Loyalty has prepared some information for you on the Polish market, because it's such an interesting market, the second most highly engaged loyalty market in Europe, you know, and we wanted to share why. So I'm going to do my best here to cover Carl's kind of notes, and apologies that he couldn't make it himself in person. Please do follow up with him. It's a fascinating market. When we looked at the Polish market, it was really interesting to be surprised in this way. I think those of us that were looking across those 24 markets never really thought, wow, you know, Poland's going to be a market kind of really leading the way in loyalty. And certainly that was Carl's view as well. But when you look at the stats, they speak for themselves. So 67% of Polish adults are members of loyalty programs. 68% think they're a great way for brands to reward customers. And 50% say they make them really loyal. And they've actually got the highest propensity to join a loyalty program when given the opportunity of any market in Europe. So over half of Polish adults 52% will join every time they are given the chance. And when we're looking at a market like that, that is, you know, such high membership, such high appeal, such high audience, like what is going on in that market that other markets can learn from? And when we talked to Carl and we looked at the market, a few key things stood out. It's characterized by a cost of living crisis at the moment, and the loyalty program market has really responded with really strong value-driven offers and brilliant kind of value-giving rewards and benefits for their members. And I think that value focus from customers combined with that strong value focus from loyalty programs means that in this market, those two factors have come together really strongly to achieve really high membership, really high appeal, and really high propensity to join. The other thing that we pulled out is kind of broad sector engagement. So actually there are really big programs in Poland across all the key kind of big everyday verticals that Polish adults are using. So QSR, pharmacy, fuel, convenience stores and grocery are sort of the biggest sectors, but there is a broad range of kind of programs offering real value across lots of sectors to engage that audience. And then also obviously actually to Nicole's point there, her third point, actually the UX is pretty good. It's quite simple. The programs are quite transactional. They're quite kind of basic, but actually those sign-up experiences on the whole are quite quick. They're quite mobile. They're quite digital. They're tailored to the audience. And that was the sort of the third factor that Carl pulled out in terms of why is this market effectively doing so well. He then wanted to pull out two quite interesting case studies. So Zapka from Zabka being the first one. It's a mobile app from the biggest convenience chain. So over 10 million downloads so far. So a really big program in the Polish market. And what we wanted to pull out here was about the ease of earn and burn and the simplicity of earn and get simple digital vouchers that you can spend very easily. And that currency being easy to share, easy to use, and also connected to payment, all within one sort of digital app ecosystem. So a really simple loyalty program, but a really effective one. The second one that Carl wanted us to talk about was Moja Biedronka, which is the biggest supermarket chain. So slightly controversial, the little plus angle, this as a different proposition, but 14 million members. So clearly doing something right. Again, a really big program in Poland and absolutely loved. Carl said it's the #1 kind of favorite that everybody really enjoys. And what they do here is time limited coupons. So time limited coupons, mostly on own brand, offering real value quickly and simply to a highly engaged, massive audience as a really effective kind of tool within their program. And the other thing that Carl thought was really stand out about this program was that it's a mass market program, and they recognize that different types of people want to engage with this program in different ways. And they've really thought about that and thought about how to make it easy to sign up, how to make it easy to engage. And actually, however you want to do it, they're trying to make it easy for you. So some customers can just get in with their mobile phone number, you can get in through QR codes, you can get in through physical cards, you can get in through the digital app. They've really worked on the accessibility of this program for all the different types of audiences that they're dealing with. So those were the sort of two highlights from Poland, and there's more detail on that in the white paper, as well as snapshots on the other markets that we haven't actually covered in the webinar today. So the British market, check it out. It's a great market, very sophisticated loyalty market. That's my one. And also the Netherlands, you know, one of those not troublesome markets, but one of those markets that's at the bottom end of loyalty engagement. We tried to put a snapshot kind of spectrum in the white paper and to cover those range of countries. And over the next sort of 12 months, we're hoping to kind of bring to life the other markets. You know, I'd like to get the full set of 24 done, but we started with 7 for the purposes of the paper. So in this sort of final section of the white paper, we're going to cover off questions with you. I can see a couple have come in, so we'll go to those. But as we go to the questions, just to kind of a recap for you of all the different case studies that are in the paper. So when you're talking, when you're setting strategies, when you're talking to people in the industry, I hope it provides a really good reference for you of some really interesting case studies from different markets and sort of what stands out about each of them. And as I sort of recapped at the beginning, Marriott Bonvoy, Verimi Rewards from Vodafone, and Samsung members a deep dive case studies with a lot of detail on them, and then the others are all kind of snapshots that are in the paper. And we tried as a community of experts to pick out some of the bigger programs, like, you know, Nicole talked about Payback, and then also some of those smaller, more interesting programs as well, so that we get that broad range of ones you know and ones also that might be new to you. So in terms of our questions, one question has come in for Zsuzsa, which is, what are the most important loyalty trends for the near future that you see? Oh,
okay, I just unmuted myself. And there is another question, and I think it's very similar to that. So I would read it up and answer these together. It's about member pricing and gamification seem to be the biggest game changers over the last few years. Where do you think the next game changer is going to come from? Technology advances or something else? So for these two questions, my answer would be the same. And I think it's from both directions. And it's so exciting. It's such a great topic, so close to my heart. And I can really get excited by loyalty programs. And whenever I travel to new countries, I just wander into the stores and try to look for signs how to sign up to the program. Even sometimes with Google Translate, I was just trying to understand how these things work. And there are these two ways where the innovation will be coming from. The tech advances and, yes, the strategy side. From the tech advances, there's one thing that already happened but not widespread, and I talked about it at my part 2, which is rewarding everything else than a purchase that has a digital trace. Technology today allows this, but is so underutilized. This is something like what omnichannel has been, the term omnichannel and the usage of omnichannel in like 5-6 years ago. Everyone was talking about it, but it was still not there. And that's the same with this part of loyalty programs, that is rewarding things that are not only purchases. Rewarding working out, rewarding referring friends, rewarding recycling, rewarding charity. There are so many options. The second thing that is a tech advance is that AI will revolutionize our space too. Software as a service will be revolutionized, and it will have a great impact on how we as companies manage loyalty programs. It will be more democratic because today it's a marketing technologist who's actually managing the loyalty program, which is a specialist within the team, but it will be AI will help to make it possible for those who are not that detail-oriented in terms of technology, but they just want to use human language, and we're getting used to this with ChatGPT. And the time will come when, with a simple sentence, we can instruct the machine to do things. And from the strategy part, where innovation and the future will come from, it's the paid loyalty programs, membership programs, subscription programs. I see great loyalty programs which use this element. It's usually a part of a free loyalty program for a smaller segment who are willing to pay to subscribe to be a member. And as I said, these multiple terminologies for that, it's not clear yet how we call these. It's just clear that there is a payment element involved for those who are willing to pay upfront to have like higher quality services to use.
Thank you, Zsuzsa. The questions are coming in thick and fast, and I'm also getting checked in by the moderator for the timing because we don't want to run over. No, not for you. It's just I'm thinking how we go back to these questions. So I've got a long list of questions. So what we'll do, everybody, is we'll make sure we follow up with you individually after the white paper to kind of send you the responses. But I reckon we can get away with one sort of quick answer. Maybe for you, Radek, it's a controversial one, and I know you like a controversial question. I often receive this question from my senior stakeholders. So I just wanted to ask, what do you think is the right target number for the loyalty base, i.e. what number of customers should sign up to the loyalty program? For example, if 20% of total customers sign up, how can we better use that to get first-party data? So I think that question is really aiming for, what percentage of my base should I aim for? Should I aim for everybody? Should I aim for a particular target? What do you think the right number is?
Charlie, how could you know that this is my favorite question? because I am constantly asked about what percentage of turnover of my customers is the right, and I can tell you some number, and I can put some arguments behind the number, and everybody will believe me. But what I insist on is to do it different way. Every company has different customer segments. Some of them are just buying once and they will never come back, or will come back in a distant future without any loyalty reason, despite graphical situation, geographical situation. So I insist on focusing on customer segments who are most loyal and who are prospects. So because you want to keep most loyal customers, and if they are 20% of your database, this is the base, this is the minimum you have to get into the loyalty program and actively work with them. But there is a opposite. There's the second part of the coin. The prospects, the people who have shown some signs of loyalty, but their potential is not fulfilled. It could be the same or close to the same number as the top high spenders in my experience. So in general, 20% is the lowest number possible, but we should aim to at least 30 or 40% of customers, because that's where all the important segments could sit. Thank you.
I think that's a great answer and a cheeky delegation there, because I think actually that ability to engage your audience varies so much by brand and varies so much by sector. And I think, with the rise in subscription brands versus, core loyalty programs, for some sectors it can go as high as 100%. But really interesting answer. Thank you ever so much. And thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your time. I know we all have hugely busy agendas, so it's been an absolute honor and a privilege not only to do the research, but to do it as part of such an awesome European team of experts. So thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Radek. Thank you, Cristina. Thank you, Zsuzsa. And also thank you to Eva from Antavo, who behind the scenes has set everything up, trained us all how to do GoToWebinar, and dealt with some pretty spectacular technology questions that show how new to this we are. So thank you ever so much, everyone. And to those of you that loaded questions that we didn't quite get the time to get to today, we will come back to you, because I think the very clever system technology captures all the questions and who asked them, so we can come back to you individually afterwards. But thank you very much, and goodbye, everybody. Have lovely days. I hope you get some sunshine.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.